Hi everyone, Cosmic Mango here, your favorite mango from outer space. I hope you're all doing well today. So today I'm going to be talking about Braids, Arisen Nightmare, one of the new commander cards from Dominaria United. I'm actually in the middle of building this deck, so I thought it would be cool to share with you some of the cards I'm going to pick up. The cards listed in this video though are all going to be purchased on a budget. Okay, let's get into the list. Sit back, relax and enjoy the show. I'm going to start off with showing you what Braids does. So Braids is a legendary creature, a nightmare, that costs 2 black and 1 colorless mana to cast. She says the following. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each opponent may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. Braids looks like an absolute blast to play. Whenever our end step comes, your opponent's always going to be flustered. What choice are they going to make? Do they sacrifice the same permanent as we did? Or do they let you draw a card and lose 2 life? It's not an easy choice to make at all. I personally believe that Braids is going to offer an obscene amount of card draw, as in the most Commander games I've played in the past, people really hate sacrificing their permanents. They'll probably just let you draw the card instead of losing their creature or enchantment, for example, which is crazy because if you're playing on a table with 4 people, 3 opponents all choose to let you draw, you're getting 3 cards each turn at your end step in mono black. Insane. So that's the basics on Braids. Let's now discuss the budget pickup guide. Let's go over with the instants and sorceries first. Dark Ritual, an instant spell that costs 1 black mana to cast and says the following. Add 3 black mana to your mana pool. This card basically says pay 1 mana to play your commander. Braids only cost 3 mana to cast, so if we have this and a swamp in our opening hand, we can get Braids out turn 1. You can buy this card for around 70 cents. It's an amazing card, OG. I'm sure a lot of you have Dark Rituals laying around. If you do, throw it into Braids. It's going to do amazing work. Feed the Swarm. A sorcery spell that costs 1 black and 1 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. Destroy a target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's converted mana cost. This is a really solid removal that only costs 2 mana. The life lost isn't too bad as we are given a large range of removal for just 2 mana. Whether we choose a creature or an enchantment, it's very good. The only real downside is that it's at sorcery speed, which is a bit of a shame. If this thing was at instant speed, it would be amazing. It's cheap though, you can buy this card for around 75 cents. Undying Malice, an instant spell that costs 1 black mana to cast and says the following. Until the end of turn, target creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. We want to protect our commander Braids as much as possible, and this beautiful card does that for just 1 mana. It's insanely good. You even get to buff Braids up a little bit with a +1/+1 counter. You can buy this card for around 59 cents. Victimize. A sorcery spell that costs 1 black and 2 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. Choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. This is a solid reanimation card. It keeps in theme with the Braids playstyle too, which is cool. I like it. You can buy this card for around 59 cents. Alright, let's move on to the next stage of the video. Let's discuss the creatures I would recommend for a Braids deck that you can buy on a budget. Reassembling Skeleton. A skeleton warrior that costs 1 black and 1 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. For 1 and black, return Reassembling Skeleton from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This card is great because we can use it with Braids' triggered ability to choose the skeleton, so she will resolve and we'll have to sacrifice this creature, meaning our opponents then have the choice to either sacrifice their own creature or let us draw a card and they lose 2 life. Then, when it goes to the graveyard after being sacrificed, we then get the choice to pay 2 mana whenever we want, by the way, doesn't have to be on our turn, to get it back to our battlefield tapped. So you can continuously use this guy, as a loop in, sacrificing the Braids. Your opponents then got to sacrifice a creature. If they don't, you draw a card. This goes to the graveyard. pay 2 mana, get it back, and continue the loop. So you pretty much always guarantee to have a creature to sack to Braids. It's a really handy card in this deck. You can buy this card for around 29 cents. Zulaport Cutthroat. A human rogue ally that costs 1 black and 1 colorless mana to cast. It says the following: whenever Zulaport Cutthroat or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This card combos well with our Commander Braids, as whenever our little creatures we sack die, Zulaport will trigger and slowly start draining on our opponent's life totals. You can buy this card for around 65 cents. Grey Merchant of Asphodel. A zombie that costs 2 black and 3 colorless mana to cast. It says the following: when Grey Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So each black mana symbol in the mana costs of a permanence you control counts towards your devotion to black. Grey Merchant is just a fantastic finisher. We are playing a mono black deck here, so it's likely over the game we'll stack up a lot of black permanents, making this creature drain a lot of life when it enters. We also gain life too, meaning we can use this to help us when we are very behind on life. It's a very solid card. I often use it as a finisher. I personally have had great success with this card. Definitely recommend it, and you can buy it for around 99 cents. Okay, that's the creatures. Now let's discuss the enchantments. Agent of the Iron Throne. A legendary enchantment background that costs 1 black and 2 colorless mana to cast. It says the following: command the creatures you own have. Whenever an artifact or creature you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. This card is just so strong on Braids, as it combos so nicely with her ability. You will drain people fast with this beautiful card, and you can buy it for just 35 cents. Pick one up. Why not? Treacherous Blessing. An enchantment spell that costs 1 black and 2 colorless mana to cast. It says the following: whenever a Treacherous Blessing enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose 1 life. When Treacherous Blessing becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So the idea is we pay 3 mana to get 3 cards, super cool. Then we sack this thing as fast as possible to Braids, using her triggered ability. Then our opponents have to then choose whether they want to sacrifice their enchantment or let us draw another card and lose 2 life. So yeah, this thing is pretty nuts. You're going to get a lot of cards out of it. But remember, we don't want this thing sticking around for long, so hopefully we do manage to remove it to Braids' ability. You can buy this card for around 40 cents. Dreadhorde Invasion. An enchantment spell that costs 1 black and 1 colorless mana to cast. It says the following: at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. Put a 1/1 counter on an army you control. If you don't control one, create a 0/0 black zombie army creature token. Whenever a zombie token you control with 6/6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until the end of the turn. I always forget about that extra bit of text at the bottom. I mainly focus around the first part where you create the army. It's a good card. This card is going to help us give creatures to sack to Braids, which is an excellent addition to the deck. You can buy this card for around 79 cents. Kaya's Ghost Form. An enchantment aura that costs 1 black mana to cast. It says the following: enchant creature or planeswalker you control. When enchanted permanent dies or is put into exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. This beautiful card will help protect our Commander Braids, and we'll only have to pay 1 mana to cast it. I love it. We even have the choice to sack it to Braids if we wish, meaning our opponents would have to sacrifice an enchantment or let us draw a card and lose 2 life. You can buy this card for around 79 cents. Ghoulish Possession. An enchantment spell that costs 1 black and 1 colorless mana to cast. It says the following: whenever 1 or more non-token creatures die, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. This ability triggers only once each turn. A creature with Decayed can't block. When it attacks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. Okay, so this card only costs 2 mana and combos really well with our Commander Braids. We'll be able to stack up 2/2 zombies really fast with this enchantment, and we can either use those zombies to sack to Braids' ability, or we can just use them to attack our opponents. It's a good card, and you can buy it for around 25 cents. So that's the end of the enchantments. Now let's discuss the artifacts. Prized Statue. An artifact spell that costs 2 colorless mana to cast and says the following. When prize statue enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a treasure token. It's an artifact with tap, sacrifice artifact, add 1 mana of any color. We are using this card mainly to combo with Braids. It gives us an extra artifact for just, for 2 mana when it enters. Then when we remove it to Braids' ability, we can get another treasure artifact. It's great, and you can buy it for around 25 cents. Nimble Right Schematic. An artifact spell that costs 2 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. When Nimble Right Schematic enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature token. This again combos well with Braids, giving us an additional options for her triggered ability, and you can buy this card for just 25 cents. So, yes, I hope you enjoyed my list. Braids certainly is a fantastic commander, and I'm excited to try her out. Please leave a comment on what you think of the cards I've chosen. It's always fun to chat with you in the comments. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.